Hey, Iyaz.
Hey, Tom.
It's Monday. Thanks for being back on another Monday, man.
No problem.
It's kind of
Thanks for
awesome
having
that
me back on
you've been
another
doing
one.
so many Mondays. I really appreciate it.
I like work. I like this little lunch break on Mondays.
Yeah?
That way I
Do
don't have to
you
listen to the show.
do you miss lunch?
Uh,
Like actually having lunch?
I work from home on Mondays usually, so I can
Yeah.
just
So you
scurry to
could
the kitchen. And I say scurry because I'm like a mouse.
don't tell Lindsay Turrentine, but he
She
gets
knows it's
lunch
okay.
later. All right, well let's do our little audio show here. Cute little show that I do. You ready?
Hmm.
You can help support the Daily Tech News Show by becoming a patron. Go to patreon.com/AgeDetect or bit.ly/help DTNS.
This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, May 19th, 2014. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Iyaz Akhtar from CNET.com and the GFQ Network at gfqnetwork.com. How's it going, Iyaz?
Going quite well. And the funny thing is, after you said your name, I felt like I had to say mine. I'm like, wait a second.
Oh
No.
yeah, old habit, huh?
I was like, wait, no. No,
We're
no.
gonna get to a point in the headlines today where you will know for sure that this is not that habit time. We're gonna blow away those Tech News Today habits for you. Okay?
True story.
Are you ready for this?
Yes.
But you have to help me read the headlines to get that
Sure.
effect. All
I'd
right,
love
here
to.
we go. Variety reported Sunday that their sources say Google's YouTube has reached a deal to buy online streaming video service Twitch for more than $1 billion. That's about one Instagram. The all-cash offer is expected to be announced anytime, so we're keeping an eye on the feeds to see if it goes official anytime soon. The all-cash offer is expected to be announced anytime, and Twitch's most popular video streams involve video games. If you didn't know that already, which maybe some of you didn't, they include live gameplay. Esports coverage is really big there as well. Twitch claims more than 45 million monthly users, and if you remember, it consumes 1.35% of all bandwidth in North America during peak times, which is just a little in front of HBO Go.
Reuters reports Google acquired Divide, a company that helps corporations manage devices like smartphones that are owned by the employees. In a post on Divide's website, the company said it would join Google's Android team. Divide's app separates a device owner's own data from corporate data, making it easier for businesses to manage multiple types and brands of devices.
That big bring your own thing is huge. That's a good move on Google's part, I think. Intel CEO Brian Krzanich told Reuters at Maker Faire in San Mateo this weekend that Intel's next-gen Broadwell processors will ship in time to be used in computers sold during the holiday season. It might be a little tough for them to make it in time for the back-to-school rush, though. The chips were delayed because of setbacks in a new manufacturing process that Intel introduced back in October.
Recode reports that people familiar with both companies tell them Twitter is considering buying SoundCloud. The Berlin-based SoundCloud has 250 million users who upload and share audio clips. Twitter launched a music app last year but killed it in March, which we all really are still hurting from. SoundCloud, from its part, might benefit from Twitter's ad-selling experience.
You know, most of the audience was like, they killed that? Huh, I hadn't
Ad
launched
one?
it in so long. I didn't realize that. The Telegraph reports Facebook has added an ask button to any blank relationship status lines on profile pages. Users who leave the relationship status blank may receive inquiries about it from anybody who can see their profile. Facebook has been adding the ask button to several elements of the profile section. Things like employer and phone number already have it. There's also no way to turn the ask button off.
Brilliant. Now, Tom would never let me do dinosaur stories on TNT, but there's nothing he can do about it right now because Boing Boing is passing along a discovery of what scientists believe is a new species of titanosaur. It's just a tad bigger than I can't say this word. Argentinosaurus, excuse me with my pronunciation, the previous biggest species, but cooler than that, scientists found a whole herd of this new titanosaur.
Yay! See, it's totally different because you have to do a dinosaur story.
Dinosaurs!
Time for some news from you. These are things submitted by our folks on the subreddit today. In fact, I think our biggest story was the one from the Techie Noob submitted about Twitch, which was our top story in the headlines today. This one was pretty big too, though. SP Sheridan submitted the USA Today report that AT&T announced Sunday it plans to acquire DirecTV for 48.5 Instagrams. That's $48.5 billion. Mixture of stock and cash. They're given $95 a share, but some of that is cash. As a comparison, Comcast is offering just a little less, $45 billion, to buy Time Warner Cable. Kevin Smithen, an analyst at Macquarie, called the deal financial engineering. He pointed out the acquisition would actually bolster AT&T's free cash flow. Although DirecTV makes money, its subscriber growth has slowed. AT&T's Uverse TV service has about 5.7 million subscribers compared to DirecTV, the number 2 video provider in the U.S. with 20.25 million subscribers.
Yeah, our old friend Cap Kipper submitted the 9 to 5 Mac write-up of a Korea Times report that Apple and Samsung are in talks designed to end patent disputes between the two companies. I know that sounds weird. Foss Patents' Florian Miller thinks a settlement could be reached very soon. Apple recently agreed to end disputes with Google and work together on patent reform.
Peace in our time?
Maybe.
This is shaping up. They're moving on to graphene suits. That's what I hear.
That's next.
Metal Freak gave us the IT World story on the U.S. Department of Justice obtaining grand jury indictments against 5 Chinese military officials for obtaining information on nuclear plant design, solar manufacturing, and other secrets. Reuters reports China denies the allegations, called them made up. It's the first time the U.S. has filed charges of corporate cyber spying against specific officials of foreign governments.
And Techie Noob posted the Verge article on scientists proposing a particle collider that could turn an 80-year-old theory on turning light into matter into reality. The system would work by shooting high-energy photons into a field of other photons, turning some of the massless particles into an electron and positron, also known as matter with mass.
Dude, replicator, right?
Yeah.
You just shine the light in and then it turns it into matter? I understand you need a super collider to do it right now. It's not something we're going to...
Which we will all have in a short time.
Exactly. Make those smaller, and then there you go. Replicator. And that, my friends, is a look at the headlines. Hey, don't forget about Cord Killers with Brian Brushwood and myself. We're actually going to be talking about this AT&T DirecTV merger on Cord Killers, as well as the Twitch stuff, all of that. That's all we do. We talk about getting your stuff, your TV shows, when you want, where you want, how you want, on any device you please, whatever you want to watch. That's what the show's about. So check it out, cordkillers.com. We'll be recording a new episode live Monday afternoon, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, if you listen to this in time. Otherwise, just get them at cordkillers.com. AT&T buying DirecTV. YouTube buying Twitch. It's crazy time out there, iyaz, akhtar. Let's start with AT&T DirecTV, though, because that one's for real. The Twitch thing, we're still waiting on confirmation about. What does AT&T want with DirecTV?
You know, that is the question everyone's asking each other right this time. Like, what's the point of this merger? But this seems like some of the opinions I've been reading, this concept of AT&T trying to have more leverage in negotiations for content, and DirecTV obviously being in the business a lot longer with these companies, with the NFL Direct Ticket, all these kinds of these deals that they already have in place. They have more leverage, and to purchase DirecTV, AT&T can become a major competitor, not just to wireless companies, but to also every cable company out there.
Yeah, I would think that this would help in a lot of ways. Having NFL Sunday Ticket, presumably they could then put it on AT&T Uverse subscribers' channels as well. I don't know how that works, but maybe that would happen. They did make it an essential part of the agreement. AT&T can walk away if DirecTV does not get a renewal for the NFL Sunday Ticket after 2015. There's been a lot of talk that somebody else might be able to steal it away from DirecTV. DirecTV CEO Mike White is expressing confidence at this point that they won't lose it. AT&T wouldn't have to walk away. They just have the option of doing that. And then Chief Executive Officer of AT&T, Randall Stevenson, is anticipating offering an internet TV service within 12 to 18 months of the deal closing. Having DirecTV's leverage being, 20.3 million subscribers there, is going to help them be able to get the deals for that, don't you think?
Yeah, that idea of basically, we ran into this problem a long time ago where if you wanted cable or you wanted fiber or something, you had to have one provider. You couldn't swap really easily. But this is kind of an all wireless cable company if you think of it that way, because you have a lot of these services that are duplicated by other people. And so if AT&T can say, hey, look, if you're part of AT&T Television or whatever they rebrand this to, or if they combine them, and you can have
Direct AT&T.
direct TNT, you're right, direct TNT. If you get to have that kind
Credit to
of
Toby Pinder for coming up with that one, by the way.
if you have that kind of company, you have the ability to have all of this content everywhere. And we've been talking for it seems like forever about this idea of getting television over the internet. And AT&T could possibly do that by simply going, we have a landline-based business with DSL. We also have Uverse. We have a little bit faster landline. Where we don't have landline, we have wireless. And then where we don't have television via wire, we have DirecTV. So
We have satellite, yeah.
this whole thing is really an intriguing idea that you could go into spaces where you couldn't before because you're not stuck with this idea of running cable. And that's been one of the bigger things that has stopped all this competition in cable, is that you can't just go, I'm going to run the infrastructure. Verizon tried it. Google's doing it now. And it's kind of intriguing to me as a consumer, if this is an option, if I can get AT&T television with AT&T wireless, it might look like a better deal.
No matter what they do, though, we're not getting this anytime soon. I mean, this has been dragging on for years now, right? There was rumors that Apple was going to be able to strike a deal, and they didn't. Intel tried to build a service. They couldn't strike the content deal, so they sold it to Verizon. Sony said last year at E3, we're going to do this sort of thing. We really haven't heard much news about that. The only significant advancement in the idea of delivering a television service over the web that's similar to cable is from Dish, who actually struck a deal with Disney to include their major channels like ABC Family, like ESPN, like Disney Channel, in some sort of putative future internet television service. But remember, listen to what I just said. Randall Stevenson said 12 to 18 months after the deal closes. They're talking about this deal taking at least a year to close. AT&T's not going to own DirecTV until this time 2015. May 2015 at the earliest is what they're thinking. So then you're talking May 2016 at the earliest for some sort of web television. You would think someone else would beat them to the punch, but maybe not.
Well, I mean, we've seen the I guess I wouldn't say advances in this kind of stuff take a glacial pace. So a couple of years isn't so bad to me on this, especially if it's a reality. If you're talking 2016, we're talking about increased infrastructure in wireless. You'll have hopefully higher quality video being streamed via wireless or via AT&T's infrastructure they need to build out. So while it may seem like a long time to us, hopefully in that time they use some of the money they have to build out this infrastructure that allows for really high quality video, being able to switch back and forth. And I'm just thinking that there must be a bunch of companies right now who are just staring at Dish, because if AT&T is allowed to do this, you've created a new wireless cable company, effectively, and they've got every end covered. So who else should be trying to do this? Verizon had that deal back in, I want to say 2011 with Spectrum Co., where they were doing this co-branded, we'll trade services with you guys, but it wasn't a true merger or anything like that. But there's a lot of other companies who should be looking at Dish at this point because, well, they have the other infrastructure that's sitting around.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, AT&T was already bundling DirecTV service in some locations just as a partnership. This will go far beyond that. But you bring up a good point. If this gets approved, this isn't as direct of a comparison as Comcast buying Time Warner Cable, but Comcast's argument there is, hey, we and Time Warner Cable don't exist in any markets together. So even if we combine, we just have more subscribers. We don't reduce choice. The AT&T DirecTV service is going to get close to 26 million subscribers, and some of those overlap. I mean, actually, all of them overlap up to 5.7 million because DirecTV can be installed pretty much anywhere in the United States where you can put a satellite dish up. Now, there's rules about, like, you're supposed to allow a dish up, but then in certain situations an apartment building can say, no, you can't put a dish. So there are those kind of subscribers that can't get DirecTV, but there's not a region that's blocked out of DirecTV. So you're reducing choice here.
Yeah, I was looking at back to that suitor idea of like who else could go after this, and AT&T's market capitalization is about $200 billion, 188, and I was like, who else could buy Dish? Because when I first saw the story, I was freaked. I'm like, a consolidation again? Am I going to be stuck with like 3 companies I can choose from? And I really don't like the way the wireless situation is built out already, because we have Verizon, AT&T, and SoftBank's Sprint, which is going after T-Mobile. So we have got this little mess going on. if you look at any other company, like if Verizon, they got $200 billion, they could buy Dish if they wanted to. But I'm always thinking about, what about that other fiber company? How about Google? You know, they only have $355 billion in market cap. They look like they're really sick of this kind of, okay, how does this situation pan out? We have to keep dealing with carriers. Could we become one? They seem crazy enough that they would be able to do this, especially since the rumors, it seems like it's like 2 years ago, the rumors of Google and Dish working together on some kind of network together. And I think that might be the best way to go, because consolidation may be good in some respects, that we get a new cable company that we're taking like a totally different kind of feel to this. But we're also, you know, we're losing choice in a different field. So I'm just hoping somebody out there, Larry Page, can decide to buy something on a lark, because, you know, when we saw the Apple Beats rumored deal, like, that's a lot of money. That's crazy. But $27 billion to Google is not a lot. Microsoft could buy it. They could bolster Xbox if they wanted to. Apple, I know these are not traditional companies, but if you want to go into, you know, these fields, AT&T might be showing us something. AT&T, a monster company, had so much difficulty getting content partnerships, and they're huge. And now they're trying to buy DirecTV. What should stop other companies who are trying to do over-the-top TV and doing the same kind of thing with Dish?
Yeah, the competition part of this bothers me a little bit. It bothers me less in video than it does in internet. And this, since DirecTV doesn't have an internet service, then this doesn't bother me in that respect, because that's the biggest competitor here. But what does bother me is AT&T, and they already had it with Uverse, but now they're much bigger in having a conflicting interest in being able to apply commercially reasonable discrimination against other video providers, because now they've got their own video service and they're going to bring it to the web. Hopefully this sort of thing works itself out, and that AT&T wants Comcast subscribers to be able to subscribe to AT&T's online video service in 2016 or whenever they launch it. But I don't love the idea of further consolidation. On top of that, as a DirecTV subscriber for a long time, they've gone in and out on their service. When News Corp owned DirecTV, their customer service suffered a little bit. And lately, their customer service has been amazing. It's been the best it's ever been. And that's what made their name. I worry a little bit on that end, too, if AT&T buys them.
And I was looking at net neutrality issues with AT&T buying DirecTV, and I saw a Market Watch report that said AT&T said that the new entity, if it was allowed to exist, would be committed for 3 years after closing to upholding current net neutrality rules as established in 2010. The weird thing is, we both know this, that there are certain rules for wireless carriers. So now, which rules apply to this new corporation? Would it be AT&T's like, hey, you get a pass, you can kind of shift traffic as you see fit, as long as there are reasons about traffic congestion and whatever? Or would it be like this kind of cable system where we have a whole other mess going on? So I want to see what that would actually suss out.
It applies per service, though. I can tell you that. Like, AT&T Wireless has to follow the wireless internet guidelines, and AT&T Uverse and DSL have to follow the wireline guides.
Right, so we have like two different guidelines there. So would they be bound by the most restrictive, which would be wired? Or would they would
follow the 2010 Open Internet Guidelines, which means their wireline service would have to do non-discrimination for what, 3 years, they said? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that to me is an intriguing, what's going to happen with that, because they would have both. Does that mean if you're on wireless?
The fact that Comcast agreed to that to buy NBC, and that AT&T is going to agree to that if they're allowed to buy DirecTV, to me means these guys really don't care that much. That's a bargaining chip they're willing to throw away. The commercially reasonable discrimination is something they're happy to deal with in the short term anyway.
Well, that's just definitely have to see how this works out, because this is a crazy deal. Like, I thought the Apple Beats $3.2 billion, that's a lot of money. It's like, no, that's not a lot of money. This is a lot of money, and this is a major shift for AT&T. And so I'm just, I want to see more companies try to do this, but I mean, I don't know how many companies other than ones I listed off are as large as AT&T and planning to do this.
See, I don't want to see internet companies buying video services. That just, to me, makes the waters muddier, unless we can get more internet competition, which none of these acquisitions is doing anything for that.
I guess I'm holding on to this vague hope that because they would get into video services, they're like, you know what, we should really bolster the video services side and make sure the connections are, the throughput's good enough for a certain amount of time. And I know that the issue becomes whose video will become be able to go through those nice big fat pipes. But to have the big fat pipes in the first place is basically what I've been looking for.
I have a feeling that Macquarie is right, what I mentioned in the headlines about AT&T buying DirecTV. This is a business that's mature, right? Subscriber growth is slowing for any kind of service like this. This gives them a bunch of dividends and a nice cash flow for a few years, and then eventually they can take these relationships and the parts of DirecTV and break them down into AT&T. That's the one thing, is DirecTV is not going to survive this if it's allowed to. It will eventually dissolve over the next 10 years into just being subdivisions of AT&T. Can almost count on it, sadly. Really quickly before we get to the calendar, though, what do you think of the idea of Google's YouTube buying Twitch?
Kind of, I almost want to say inevitable, right? YouTube has just gotten gigantic, and the idea of all this video traffic going towards something like Twitch over YouTube Live, which YouTube Live is not exactly a huge success. I know we're using Google Plus on-air Hangouts, and that's a way to bolster YouTube Live, but people have built in a lot of sharing abilities through Twitch. So they would be on Xbox, I think they do Twitch, and so does Sony, the PlayStation 4. So I think that's a good investment. And I think the funny thing was I was talking to somebody this weekend about the deal, and I think YouTube was bought for like $2 billion, so many years ago. The idea that this small, what was a small entity that was like, that's crazy, YouTube's not going to work, they would buy another piece to make them stronger. It just seems like a good idea to me, but it just made me feel really old.
Yeah. Well, and I should disclose that my wife works for YouTube Space LA as a live producer. That's what she was hired for. In fact, I think Janko Recker's Giga Ohm story referred to them hiring a former Twit live producer. That's my wife. But I do think that this is an interesting match because YouTube has capacity, right? They've got servers galore because they're part of Google. They can stream all day long, but they don't seem to have been able to figure out how to do it. As GigaOhm pointed out, they've removed the links to YouTube Live from most of the website. So having Twitch gives them an entity that knows how to do live. And Twitch, as they've continued to grow and passed up HBO Go and peak broadband usage and all that sort of thing, they're starting to hit limits of what they're capable of doing streaming-wise, just engineering. Not that they couldn't rise to the challenge, but this makes it a whole lot easier for them to just be like, oh, we can just plug in to the massive Google server farms out there. Great. That gives us the oomph that we need to continue to expand the service.
Real quick, do you think Twitch as a brand would survive? I mean, YouTube survives in Google.
That's a good question. Yeah, I would. If I'm YouTube, I'm not getting rid of the brand Twitch. It's too embedded into esports right now. I would just make it a subsidiary of YouTube.
I get you. It's kind of like the way Motorola was a Google company for the little time it was a Google company.
Or the way YouTube is. YouTube is actually not a Google company. It is part of Google, unlike Motorola, which was totally separate. But YouTube maintains its brand. I would do that for Twitch, for sure.
I think Twitch by YouTube coming, and then kind of like, was it Linksys by Cisco?
TwoTube. You Twitch.
I'm not twitching.
Yeah, no, neither am I. Let's look at the calendar. Microsoft has its Surface event in New York City tomorrow, May 20th. At least we assume that we're going to get a smaller version of the Surface. There's always also talk of a new Surface with Intel processor inside, a new Pro, but we'll find that all out tomorrow. Conferences this week. DataBeat is May 19th and 20th in San Francisco. A look at big data, whether anyone's really using it or just kind of walking around saying they are. You're going to put that to the test. May 19th and 25th is Internet Week in New York, in which all the coders get off big ships and the ladies go crazy. Wait, no, that's Fleet Week, which is also May 19th to 25th in New York. Moving on, the first annual Mobile First Summit begins May 20th in New York. And finally, on May 20th, the Future in Review Conference will take place in Newport Beach, California, presumably populated by time travelers. So there you go. Our pick of the day comes from Jake Lackey in Fresno, California. Have you ever used Umail, iyaz, Akhtar? You use a lot of these kinds of things.
I actually haven't used Umail.
Okay. Well, Jake has been a Umail user since his first BlackBerry phone years ago. He says, I'm pretty surprised I don't hear anybody talking about the app. I didn't want to have to pay the $2.99 a month for visual voicemail from Verizon, so I started using Umail, which is totally free. Umail will automatically forward voicemails to their service, which you upload your contacts to and download the app for the phone. Then on our phone, you can see a list of who called, play their message from the app, rather than having to play the message one by one and wondering who called. You can skip around and only listen to the messages which you think are important. It even has a spam folder folder. You can set up individual voicemail greetings from a list suggested downloads from the site, or use what they call smart greeting, which will answer the voicemail with, "Hello, insert name here. User can't come to the phone right now." He says he's strictly an Android user and not 100% sure how well it works for the iPhone, which already has visual voicemail built in. You do have to sign up with the Umail site, umail.com, get an account, which is free. You can customize the many different ways you would like your voicemail to be handled. He has unlimited data, so he's not sure how much data this uses for those on caps and that sort of thing. There is a paid option, which for $5 a month, but it's not required. It gives you a ton of features, as opposed to $3 for the Verizon version, which gives you nothing extra. Although, if you have an iPhone, Verizon does the visual voicemail as part of the iOS, so it's free there. Anyway, Umail I've noticed, gets varying levels of reviews out there. A lot of people seem to like it at first and then maybe uninstall it later. But hey, it's Jake's pick, so you might want to check it out. Umail for Android and iOS, umail.com. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate the pick, man. And we've got a message of the day. Hot Belgo, a Patreon under another name, has some follow-up thoughts to help folks understand broadband in Europe better. We were talking with Brecky about this on Friday, as well as Darren. Here are a few points. Only a couple of countries, notably the UK, have structural separation, where the infrastructure is run separately from the consumer services. In other words, there's the backbone providers, then there's the ISPs, and they don't meet. They both are separate countries. It's not required by EU law. All countries oblige unbundled local loops, the right for the ISPs to use the incumbent's last mile. That's what we used to have for DSL here in the United States, a similar sort of thing. Most countries oblige bitstream, the right for ISPs to interconnect with the incumbent's DSL service and resell that consumer service. That's exactly what we had here. This right may be extended to cover fiber in due course. Cable internet is available in about 50% of Europe. There are no regulatory obligations on cable companies. As a result, I would think everyone has more than 4 ISPs to choose from. DSL works well in most parts of Europe because our copper local loops are shorter and more modern on average than the U.S. regulators already have powers to intervene to protect consumer interests. These powers will probably strengthen over the next 12 months, as even with choice, switching is not common. While net neutrality is probably safe, recall that Level 3 mentioned one European carrier running persistently maxed out peering connections in Europe. This is clearly an issue in France for Google services in particular. For example, I often experience YouTube and Google Plus pages loading the text, but none of the images or videos. So thanks for the insight on the way the things work in Europe. Appreciate that. Hot Belgo. What do you think, Iyaz? You moving to Europe now?
Not right now, only because I am doing a ton of work to get my place in New York right now.
Just keep going. Just do all that work, but then just overshoot and then land in Paris.
CNET.com, we just globalized our website.
CNET
we
UK.
have our division, so I don't see I have another office to go to. So you know what? I think in 2 years' time, which means in about 6 weeks, I'll end up in Europe.
Just keep moving east.
There we go. East. I'll make it back.
And eventually you'll get to Japan, which apparently has the best internet, Japan and Korea.
Heck yeah.
So that's where you land. I'll go the other direction, and we'll meet there. And then we'll all have amazing internet.
So I'll move east and you move west?
Yeah, because okay. I'll go across to Japan, and then we'll end up in Tokyo.
Good idea.
No, in all seriousness, he points out this interesting thing about, we used to have local loop internet competition. It was part of the Telecommunications Act of 1996. It created competitive local exchange, and there's another C that I always forget. I think carrier. But the idea was there would be companies like Covad that would group exchange all these ISPs together in the exchange and then share the last mile. And that just, what happened was all the ISPs bought the CLECs, and then there was no more competition. So there you go. You could even make it the law, and it doesn't always work the way people want it to. Hey, thank you, Iyaz Akhtar, for chatting with me today, man.
Well, thank you, Tom Merritt, for having me on.
CNET.com, look at the homepage, and boom, you see your work.
Yeah, so what I do is I arrange the stuff that's there. So we have lots and lots of content from all over the place. And I wasn't kidding. We actually have unified our teams at CNET.com. So we've got a lot more international stuff coming up. So if you're like, hey, I'm listening to this show in Europe, and you guys keep talking about this stuff, and I want to see more information about things that are happening to me, you will find that at CNET.com. About a ton of our content is international. We've got our UK team doing great stuff. We got our team in Australia giving us great stuff. It's a fantastic experience right now. And if you're still interested in the U.S. stuff, we still have that. We've got a lot of reports coming in because of the AT&T DirecTV deal. And it kept my weekend busy because I had to keep an eye on that and put it up on the door the second it was live, because that's what we do, because it's important stuff at cnet.com.
Check it out. Also, iyaz does shows on gfqnetwork.com, like Quest for Peace. Go check those out as well. Thank you,
iyaz. With Shannon Morse the other day.
Awesome. Good guess. We're gonna have Shannon. We're trying to get Shannon on DTNS soon, too.
Good luck with that.
I know she's kind of busy right now.
Yeah.
Maybe after June. We'll see. Hey, thanks to all the patrons out there that keep the show going. Your support is essential to making Daily Tech News Show happen. So all 3,966 of you, thank you from the bottom of my heart for putting your value back into the show, saying I get some value from the show, I'm going to put some value back. That's exactly the proposition we put out there, and I'm glad it works for you, because it's making the show possible and making the show able to grow. bit.ly/helpdtns if you want more information about that. Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. You can email us, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Give us a call. Leave us a voicemail, 512-59-DAILY. That's 593-2459. The show's live at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time at mobile.alphageekradio.com, and our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back tomorrow with Lamar Wilson as our guest. See you then.
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Ta-da! Good show.
Yes, good shoe, everybody.
Really big shoe.
So we need a title.
Yes, we do.
We already have one.
Oh, we do.
What was it?
It was a group effort. It evolved throughout the group.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure it's AT&T DirecTV which tube. I will spell it for you.
Yeah, somebody put it in the put it in the chat room.
I'm doing it right now.
Where are you putting it?
Chat.
AT and
DirecTV which
Twitch tube. It violates my
Everybody
principle against
had a little
mashup
hand in that
titles,
one.
but they do go so well together.
That was a group creation.
Done. Well done, chat room. I shake your hand. There.
There it is.
Well, my job's done. No, I'm just kidding.
Job's done.
Job's done. I have one more job.
At DTNS, getting the job done is job one.
Job two is taking a nap.
Job two is taking a restful nap. Job three is having a snack.
We work hard at snacks.
So you don't have to. Yes, Janice Q7, I did hear that the transatlantic cable was down, since that's all people were talking about there for a while.
Bummer.
That sucks, yeah.
Like what? How does that happen?
You know,
Some submarine commander gets a little drunko.
yeah, it's a Red October thing, probably.
I'm going right for this big tube.
Sometimes it's just nature, right?
Godzilla.
Like like Godzilla. Every once in a while, it's there's these boats, and I can't remember what they do, but they drag things along the ocean. Not anchors, I don't think, but I don't know if they're fishing boats or something, but yeah.
But I thought the transatlantic cable was like pretty darn deep.
Yeah, that's usually what happens in Africa when one of the African cables gets cut, because it happens in shallow water. So I don't know what cut this one. Anybody know? Was it
Top
sharks?
Gurky Work says sharks.
Yeah, probably sharks.
I actually am super curious.
Could have been jets. When you're a jet,
It might have been a
underwater
dinosaur, which I guess is Godzilla.
Could be a titanosaur. Godzilla.
Titanosaur?
Is Godzilla a titanosaur? iyaz?
No, God. I see now. I feel like I can't talk about this movie
Why not?
Spoiler.
because I've had 2 spoiler dings in a row, and the third one I get kicked out the show.
How many weeks has Godzilla been out? Because it feels like it was an
So
eternity.
it's
when
only been a weekend.
That was last week?
So yeah, this weekend actually.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's a little early.
I saw it on Thursday. That's why it feels like it's off to me.
Yeah.
All
right. So without spoiling anything, because I'm now the queen of the spoiler police, did we like it?
Because it was a group of 4 of us, liked it.
Yeah.
Me,
Okay.
I did not like it.
Okay. Tom?
Didn't see it.
3 of us
Okay.
were Godzilla fans.
Because
And
I was at Baycon all day on Saturday, or not Baycon,
Oh, right.
Baycon next week. I was at Nebula Awards all day on Saturday,
it was in the future.
and then my friend Roger Chang told me he didn't like it, and when I told Eileen that Roger didn't like it, she was much less enthusiastic about seeing it. So
Yep.
we ate tacos instead.
It's that was a good choice.
Really?
Well, all right. I will, without spoiling anything, I will say visually and thematically, thumbs up.
Okay, agree.
Character and caring, thumbs down.
I have not seen the movie. I have been spoiled on the movie, so I'm going to try to be very careful in what I'm about to say. But in case you just don't want to risk it, I'm giving you this warning. But what Roger didn't like about the movie is that what gets set up through the first half has no pay. He felt had no payoff in the second half.
Okay.
0. Just things don't matter. And also, you've taken one of our favorite actors of all time, and to be kind, underutilized him.
Godzilla?
No.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say.
Because was Godzilla played by Godzilla in this one?
Godzilla was actually played by Brian Austin Green in this one.
Oh, well, see, they should have got Godzilla.
I don't know.
Godzilla was busy. They had to not double.
Nobody can take a joke about Godzilla. Come on. Iyaz, you look like a man with something to say. I can see that.
I have things to say about this movie. I don't want to spoil it. I was a little frustrated with certain things, and as a Godzilla fan, like I used to watch a lot of Godzilla stuff when I was a kid, and I had like the VHS tapes and everything. I would watch all of them, and there were parts of the movie where I'm like, yeah, that was so cool, but I was also like, dear God, this movie is too long. And Godzilla, the movie, most movies I've watched were like they're under 2 hours, and my attention span as I've gotten older for things like this, it's gotten smaller. So I really would appreciate if this movie was not, I think it was like,
why do kids have to make movies so long these days?
well, it's not Godfather, okay? It's Godzilla. So like, cut it down to like.
I want to see that mashup.
Yeah, Godfatherzilla. Awesome.
You come
That's
to
what
me.
I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Like maybe it could have been an hour 45. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
about
just
it.
get rid of the first half, apparently. Just make it an action movie.
I will say this. And I don't think this is a spoiler. It gave me an appreciation of movies like Independence Day, who took a big thing happening all over the world and vaguely made us care from a lot of different perspectives. Yes, they were a little cartoonish, but they made us care. And also the other thing I will say, which I said on Twitter, which is this movie was lacking a very notable archetype of the Joss Whedon era. I won't even say any more about that.
Buffy?
No, it was lacking a Xander. See, I just went and did it. This movie had no Xander, and it sure could have used
I don't
it.
feel that that's spoilery.
Yeah.
It's a lack of comedic elements,
Oh, God, yeah.
which is unusual actually for such a serious movie. There should be somebody who's just like, this is crazy.
Self-referential meta Godzilla jokes of the last 50 years, maybe? Maybe? Just one?
Well, just somebody who's just not believing what's happening, as in like, because everyone's very like, this isn't a spoiler, but everybody's already up to the challenge of Godzilla or whatever's happening. Why? Why is everyone so prepared as opposed to going, what the?
There is a giant lizard!
Because of Pacific Rim, Iyaz, they've already, they're ready for this sort of kaiju challenge.
Yeah, if you want to watch Godzilla, that's good. Watch Pacific Rim. That's pretty. Well, it's a reverse, but still. I think
Yeah, it just bummed me out. It bummed me out.
But anyway, I want to watch it again in 3D because I think it'll be better in 3D.
I'm
watched
just
it
going to
in
go
3D, it wasn't
see
much better.
X-Men this weekend and forget all about Godzilla.
Yeah.
And
Big deal. This is it. Ace Detect. You know what? This is it. This is our whole movie draft right
I know.
here.
And 98 million. What I'm hoping with Godzilla is that the 98 million was it.
It's gonna drop.
That it will drop like a stone next week, partly because of X-Men and partly because of conversations like this where people who saw it go, yeah. Which I'm hearing a lot.
Well, it's not as bad as people's reactions to Spider-Man 2. They're like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but they were saying no beforehand, whereas Godzilla beforehand was getting like 72% Rotten
Mystery
Tomatoes
vibe.
and stuff.
Still pretty
yeah.
high.
Yeah.
Do we know?
No, I have a feeling. See, here's my theory on the movie draft: is we're now into the high peak of a tent pole a week, and so a movie has to be really Godzilla great, and I don't mean Godzilla great, but like mega great to survive 2 weekends.
Godzilla great, Godzilla good. Let us thank him for not destroying our city.
So, like, X-Men has to be, in addition to just being like thematically awesome, an actual great movie for it to survive past its opening weekend, which Captain America at 250 million domestic has therefore proved.
Did we finally pass 250? Or
Yep,
are you just rounding?
we did it this weekend.
I never saw the Saturday numbers. Thank goodness. Yay.
Isn't that exciting? 250 million.
That's perfect. That's exactly what we needed.
Yep.
Everything from that movie is going to be gravy from here on out, which will be nothing. It's not really going to make any more.
Do you guys know of any resources to find out if a movie was shot in IMAX or 3D native?
Wait, say what again? I had a
Other than
malfunction.
Google? No.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, is there a resource that actually keeps track of IMAX
right.
shot movies or 3D native movies? Because I don't like to go see things that were converted, not because they're bad, but I like to see things how they were meant to be shot. If it was done in IMAX,
no organized graphical chart that I'm aware of, which would be helpful.
Yeah.
That should be a thing.
Like, there's not. I don't know if
man.
IMDb has that as a, as a thing where you could search on.
It's like
No,
I
but
doubt
like
it.
when all the Hobbit movies come out, you have your choice of like 17 different variations.
Would you like Dolby
On
Atmos,
17.
Dolby Atmos 3D, Dolby Atmos 3D IMAX, just 3D IMAX, just IMAX?
it's like, tell me what you shot it for. Please, we can have the director's pick, whatever the heck that is. That's all I want to go see it in.
No, you don't want that because then it looks like a British soap opera.
If he decided to make this movie or she made this movie on a 13-inch TV with like super letterbox, that's how I want to watch it. Okay, that's how dumb that is. But like, I want to see what the director wanted me to see, not anything more or less.
Agree.
I'm obsessive like that. But I can't find a resource, so somebody make that the pick of the week, or pick of the day next week, or next day, whenever I'm back.
Yeah.
Beatmaster
When are you back?
day was very long. Sorry, I'm answering Beatmaster's question, and it will be in the
I don't know.
show notes.
Expecting the first half.
I wanted to know if there was a pick of the day.
Let's see, June.
iyaz is not scheduled for anything. So
Yeah, I got an email like last week, and I'm just so bad at email.
just freaking answer the email, iyaz.
I'm freaking doing it, Tom.
I gave you a dinosaur story. Do you know how hard that was for me?
Very easy, I would imagine, because it's an awesome story.
It was a Titanic story.
You could answer right now if you wanted, which was, could you do any Mondays in June, or is it just getting a little too nutty?
I can
2
do
and
back to
9?
back. Yeah, 2nd and 9th, because the 16th, 16th might be the earliest I'm moving. 23rd, I should be like in a new place, hopefully.
Okay.
So 2nd and 9th.
Cool.
I'll write it down.
I'm writing it down, then I'll send you an invite.
Okay.
Hey, look, we just solved that without email.
Yay.
I sent it anyway. I'm
Who needs
ruined.
email? Email's for jerks.
Fake 3D, Tom Gerke. Jump to list. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Tom. Am I picking something
Nice.
just yet?
Well
Should
done,
be.
Tom Gerke.
Where are you giving us the bird? Wait, where are you just? Were you just?
Were
giving-
you just giving us the bird? I
Oh,
can pretty
H.
much say no.
I don't believe so. If I wanted to do that, I would have done it on purpose. And I totally would own up to it. Because why the heck not?
You know, I have to say, it feels pretty good to only have one movie in the movie draft and be in first place still.
Yeah, still. Matt and I did some math. We do math every Sunday, and then we
Sunday
decide
math.
like Sunday math on the movie draft and decide how worried we are about like a team or another team. And we're actually able to rule out a couple of teams because like all teams that have had movies come out that have performed, say, under 50 million, you basically cross that out as a movie. So, like, you know how we only have 4 movies?
Right.
So, like, there are teams like Slash Film that only have 4 movies, and their big tentpole is Spider-Man. And then I think they have Guardians of the Galaxy, so that's their big play. But there's a team out there. I think it's not TMS. It's somebody that has like
Night
6
Attack?
movies. Maybe Amtrekker. But then those movies have come out and they've started to just do minor performance. So you cross it off because that's no longer a $100 million factor. This is like this movie draft is all about the battle of the $100 million movies, and then everybody gets like a bigger one.
There was one year that Schwood won, and he needed a few $100 million, but he didn't have any of the big blockbusters, and he won on bulk.
That's a
And
money
I think that's
ball
what
play.
I think that's what Amtrekker was up to, was trying to like, well, we'll have 6 movies, and they have Dawn of the Planet of the Apes,
Right.
but your 6 movies have still got to do an average of 100 million, if not more. And if they all, that's math, Sunday math, so traditional.
Yeah. It's so fun. It's so much fun.
Just
and
like in olden times, sitting down for your Sunday math.
Yeah.
With your abacus.
I remember Grandpa regretting that nobody sat down for Sunday math anymore.
Gather around the fire. It's time for Sunday math.
Yeah, I'm
After
happy
the president spoke.
There's still one team I'm very worried about, and I can't remember their name. I think it might be TMS. That's it. I'm worried about TMS.
See, they have that balance between blockbuster and bulk.
They have exactly what we.
Yeah.
They have a lot of $100 million movies.
Because they have Godzilla, but they also have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they have 6 movies and Godzilla.
They could each make $100 million.
However, they have Planes, Fire, and Rescue, which I can almost guarantee will make less than 30 million.
Right. Well, here's my problem though with kids animated movies this year is there are barely any of them. So I think out of sheer desperation, there will be kids at that movie.
I thought the same thing about the first Planes for the same reason and bought it, and it tanked. I can't imagine, and I'm sure I'll be wrong, I can't imagine that the sequel to Planes, which was a direct-to-DVD movie, is going to do better, but I don't know. Maybe they beefed it up this time, and everybody's going to go, oh, this is so much better than the first one, in which case you're probably going to be right.
I'm still jealous that someone else got How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, my God. We would have had it sewn up.
That's the movie I most miss.
Yep. God's money bags.
I know.
Did we even have $40 left at that point? I don't think we did. I think that was the
No.
problem. Yeah.
Like a very exciting first half, and then the second half was like, uh-oh. What are we gonna
We don't
do?
have any money left. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm done. I'm out of the post. So.
It's all ready.
Yeah. Iyaz, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. Glad
This
to-
is your public thank you. Then I'll also give you an Alpha Geek Radio thank you and then a private thank you.
I appreciate all of those things. And I did find a list, by the way, about IMAX. What was shot in IMAX, what wasn't shot in IMAX.
Was that Tom Gerke's?
No, this was actually just a Wikipedia page, a list of IMAX DMR films.
Oh, nice.
And it actually explains which movies were shot and converted from 2D to 3D as well. So very useful for nerds.
Where's that? Can you tweet it?
I can throw it in the chat room, and I can tweet
Throw it in
it.
the chat. There, that's good.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys.
So long.
Bye.
Have a great Monday.